Okay, could you explain to us, Jason, interactivity in-stream video ads, like what you see, what you use, or what advertisers want, what they provide you, the tools that you're implementing, how creative that is, and what needs to be done. So it's, or just sort of explain maybe a couple of examples of interactive in-stream videos.
Sure. So if an advertiser, if we have an automaker and they have an SUV, they give us that creative, and you could say, great, run this flat and just run this 30-second commercial, even a 15. Or we have a dozen people in our creative services group that'll say, how do we enhance what you already have? And if it's that SUV, the scroll over, which will attract a consumer, says, do you want to see how safe this car is? Do you want to see how to attach a child seat? Do you want to see the luxurious interior? And they're then able to engage with that slate and then find out more about that car. I mean, it's very
How often do people
simple.
engage with those sort of things?
When it's right, it's dramatic. I mean, we engage as much as the advertiser is saying, this is what we want to achieve. We have a fairly famous beverage that's advertising right now in their English commercial. The engagement slate is in Spanish. So you're saying, well, if there's a multilingual, bilingual consumer who wants to be interested in that brand, they could also then engage with that, and that was their target. And we're able to take a regular commercial that they're using for their national English-speaking audience and enhance it for a Spanish-speaking audience. And of course, they only have to pay when that Spanish-speaking audience engages, and that's, to Dave's point earlier, no one who doesn't speak Spanish is going to engage with it because you don't even know what it says.
And then you charge $2 when someone clicks on to engage.
When they engage with that to see more, exactly. And that example is stark. It's a 15-second pre-roll, and the average engagement on inside the interior of what's happening and what we designed is over 80 seconds. And we know it shuts off after 30 seconds if no one's engaging with it. So it is clearly people playing and engaging with the creative, just like they see, when this is what these agencies do, right? You try and create a creative experience that draws in a potential consumer and says, okay, what are they going to do off of that? So
James and Dave, let me ask you guys, what do you think about this $2 a click engagement thing? Is it, what are your thoughts about it?
I think, for the right execution, for the right category, I like the auto example you used. It's essentially just making your video investment work a little bit harder, provided you have the right, right execution to make that work. And of course, I like the idea of paying or having some type of uplift based on performance. It seems to be a shared stake in the game with regards to the publisher and the creative kind of both having some ownership.
Yeah, look, the creative guy is going to say that SUV is of course still a good example because we know that there are two different buying groups for that, right?
Yeah.
One buying group on that SUV wants to see how safe it is. The other one wants to make sure that it's got a little pep and it's luxurious. Two totally different targets. And you could drive yourself crazy if you're buying audience trying to find where those two different creatives should go. Technology now takes that heavy lifting out of the equation, and you put the onus on us to say, let's make sure we get this ad to the proverbially right person, right place, right time.
Riley, did you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, no, I admire that. I think that's terrific. I just wouldn't want to necessarily, now we're talking about a completely different experience, but measure, say, the video that we distribute or the video ads that we distribute on our site in that way. But again, for the right client, it really definitely makes sense. But it's challenging.
I was just going to say, I mean, that gets back to what Jason was saying earlier, which is, certain metrics are appropriate for certain, marketing plans. Some things are very, very top of the funnel, right? And there's appropriate metrics for that. Yeah. Yep. And some things are at the very bottom of the funnel, in which case clicks and conversion rate might be the right metrics.
Yeah, the one thing.
Well,
the audience isn't any less valuable because they're not clicking and engaging, and
Agreed.
I think that's something that that don't mean to and that's one of the challenges, I guess, in all of this is deciphering the data and analyzing it in a way that makes sense. Someone might, in fact, be at the bottom of the funnel, but and you're reaching them in a more traditional way. So I think. Sure. Again, measuring on the basis of deep engagement is one way of looking at it, but it's not the definitive, I think.
So one thing that I think we'd be remiss not to mention is creative, right? the folks at Digitas are going to groan when I say creatia, which is obviously creative and media put together. But it really does work hand in hand. And I think we talked a little bit earlier about what do we ask of partners. Well, we want to know, what do you know about what makes something engaging? What do you know that makes a video go all the way through? It's not fair to either one of you for us to blame you guys if we're not getting any engagement and if people aren't watching it all the way through. The creative carries a huge amount of weight. Goes back to that audience insight piece, broken record. I think I'll have to start doing push-ups for audience insights. But not only does that inform the media, but that informs the creative. So if we're not putting the creative in there and doing multiple versions and testing and testing and testing, then we're only looking at half of the equation. So I would say in both cases, the creative side of that is really important. And I will always make time and take a call for a partner to catch up for 10, 15 minutes. If I am going to walk away from that meeting with 3 bullet points about what really makes creative work and what they're learning and what they're seeing in terms of those attributes that make it successful.